Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 4 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that will make you say NTA immediately. Story 1. I found out where my mom's emergency loan really went. So my mom called me crying, begging for $1,500, and I just found out where that money actually went. Let me back up. I'm 29 years old, and over the past couple of years I've lent my mom money here and there. Nothing crazy, just enough to help her cover rent or a bill when she was short. She's my mom, right? You don't interrogate your mom when she says she needs help. I never asked a ton of questions, I just helped when I could. But 3 months ago she calls me, and she is sobbing on the phone, telling me her car broke down and she can't get to work without it, and she needs $1,500 to fix it. Now, I didn't have that kind of cash just sitting around, so I had to scramble. I ended up putting some of it on a credit card, I dipped into savings I was not planning on touching, and I sent her the money because that's what you do for your mom when she's crying and telling you she's about to lose her job. Fast forward to last week. I'm at a family gathering, and my aunt, who has no filter whatsoever, mentions offhand how nice it was that my mom finally got to take that trip to see her sister out of state. And I'm sitting there like, what trip? So I start asking around, and it turns out my mom never fixed her car with that money. She used a chunk of it to fly out and visit my aunt, and stayed in a hotel for 4 days. The car thing was real, apparently it did need some work, but it was way less than $1,500. She used my money that I went into debt for, to fund a vacation. I confronted her about it and she got defensive immediately, saying she works hard and deserves a break sometimes, and that I'm making a big deal out of nothing since I got paid back eventually anyway. Except I didn't get paid back. She still owes me from before. So now here we are. She called me again last week asking for another loan, this time for $400 for groceries, and I told her no. I told her I wasn't comfortable lending her more money after finding out what happened last time. And she lost it on me. She's calling me selfish, saying family helps family, saying I'm holding a grudge over something so small, and that I'm treating her like a criminal for wanting to see her sister. My sister actually agrees with my mom, saying I should just let it go because it's not like she spent it on drugs or something crazy. But I feel like that's not the point. The point is she lied to my face, cried to me, made me feel like her job and her well-being were on the line, and then went and had a nice little vacation with my money. Now I'm the bad guy for not wanting to fund round 2. Am I really the jerk here for cutting her off after this? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My best friend lied about his wedding time to get free labor out of me. My best friend told me his wedding started at 10 in the morning. It actually started at noon. And he needed me there early for one very specific reason. Let me explain. This guy invited me to his wedding, told me to show up at 10 a.m. sharp. So me and my wife get there at 9:45, dressed up, looking sharp, ready to celebrate. Except when I walk in, there's no ceremony set up. There's no guests. There's just a field, a pile of folded-up gazebos, a stack of tables, and a steep hill leading up to where the actual ceremony space is supposed to be. And my buddy comes strolling over in shorts and a t-shirt and goes, "Hey man, glad you're here early, we've got a lot to set up." Turns out the wedding wasn't at 10. It was at noon. He lied to me about the start time by 2 full hours so that he could rope me into manual labor. And when I asked him why he didn't just ask me to help set up instead of lying, he said, and I quote, "I picked you because you're strong and you do DIY for a living. I knew you'd say yes if I asked nicely, but I figured this way you couldn't say no." So essentially, he manipulated me into free labor because he assumed if he asked properly, I might have said I couldn't make it early or wouldn't want to. I was standing there in dress shoes and a blazer, and he's handing me a gazebo pole. I told him, straight up, I'm not doing this. I'm dressed for a wedding, not manual labor, and if you wanted help setting up, you should have just asked me like an adult instead of lying to get me here under false pretenses. He got instantly defensive, saying I was being dramatic, that it's just a couple hours of work, and that as his friend I should want to help make his big day perfect. My wife was standing there just as confused and annoyed as I was, since we now had 2 hours to kill in wedding clothes with nothing to do, in the middle of nowhere. I ended up telling him that if he needed help, he could have texted me literally any time in the past few months and asked directly, and I probably would have said yes. But being tricked into it, dressed in clothes that were absolutely not made for lifting tables and dragging equipment up a hill, was not something I was going to do. We ended up just going and grabbing coffee nearby and coming back closer to the actual start time. Now word has gotten back to me that he's telling mutual friends I abandoned him on his wedding day when he needed help, and that I'm making a huge deal out of a simple favor. Some of our friend group is starting to side with him, saying I should have just helped since that's what friends do. But the lying part is what gets me. If he'd just been honest, this whole thing wouldn't even be a conversation. Am I wrong for refusing to do manual labor in a suit because my friend lied to get me there? Story 3. My husband wanted to take our kids into a dangerous rip current. There was a red flag warning on the beach for dangerous rip currents, and my husband still wanted to take our 3 little kids into the ocean. So we're on a family beach vacation, me, my husband, and our 3 kids, who are 6, 5, and 2 years old. The ocean had been rough the entire trip, like noticeably rough, to the point where earlier in the day we tried to let the kids play in the surf at just ankle-deep water, and they were getting knocked over and tossed around by the waves. It was bad enough that we packed up and went back to the house because it clearly wasn't safe, even in water that shallow. There was a single red flag posted at the beach access point, and if you know anything about beach flag warnings, a single red flag on a North Carolina beach means high hazard, dangerous surf, and strong frequent rip currents. Basically, officials are telling you the ocean is actively dangerous that day. Later that evening, my husband gets this idea that he wants to take the kids back out, this time to actually swim, not just wade in the shallow water. I immediately said no. Like, absolutely not. Did you not see how they got tossed around in ankle-deep water earlier today, and did you not see the red flag? He brushed it off, saying he'd keep a close eye on them, that he grew up going to the beach and knows how to handle rip currents, and that I was being overly anxious and not letting the kids have fun on their vacation. I stood my ground and said no, we are not taking 3 small children, one of whom is literally 2 years old, into rough ocean water with an active hazard warning, just so they can have a fun beach memory. He got really annoyed with me, accused me of babying the kids and never letting them do anything remotely adventurous, and said that this is exactly why our kids are scared of everything, because I coddle them. My family, who's there with us on this trip, kind of sided with him a little, saying that he's a grown man, he can watch his own kids, and that I should trust him more. But this isn't about trust, this is about basic ocean safety. Rip currents kill people every single year, adults who know how to swim well, let alone small children who panic the second a wave knocks them over. I ended up telling him if he wanted to go in the ocean by himself that was his choice as an adult, but the kids were staying on the sand, and that was final, no negotiation. He was clearly annoyed with me the rest of the night, giving me the silent treatment, acting like I ruined the vacation vibe. My mother-in-law even pulled me aside and gently suggested maybe I was overreacting since he's their dad and wants to bond with them. But I keep thinking about how badly they got tossed around in ankle-deep water just hours earlier. Am I really the unreasonable one here for refusing to let my young kids into genuinely dangerous ocean conditions? Story 4. I refuse to hire my daughter-in-law because she's completely helpless. My daughter-in-law applied for a job at my own company, and I had to decide whether to hire someone I genuinely believe can't function without being told exactly what to do. So a little background, I've owned my own business for over 30 years now, and I employ more than 100 people. I built this thing from nothing, and I take real pride in running a tight, functional operation. My daughter-in-law has been a stay-at-home mom for the past 7+ years, and now that her kids are all finally in school full-time, she wants to go back into the workforce. Before she had kids, she worked as a server for a while, and from what I remember and what my son has told me over the years, she was not great at that job either. She's a sweet person, don't get me wrong, I like her as a person and she's good to my son and the grandkids. But helpless is honestly the kindest word I can use to describe how she operates day to day. I'm talking about someone who calls my son at work in a panic because she can't figure out how to reset a router, or doesn't know how to make a doctor's appointment without him walking her through it on the phone, or once genuinely didn't know how to use a self-checkout machine at the grocery store and just abandoned her cart. It might be a mix of never really being taught independence and just being a little spoiled, honestly I'm not sure which, but the end result is the same. She recently found out I had an opening in my office for an entry-level administrative role, and she asked my son to ask me if I'd consider her for it. I sat with it for a few days because I genuinely wanted to be fair and not just dismiss her on gut feeling. But when I really thought about the day-to-day of that job, it requires managing multiple phone lines, prioritizing tasks independently, handling vendors, problem-solving on the fly when something goes wrong, all without someone standing over her shoulder walking her through every single step. I don't have the bandwidth to babysit an employee like that, and frankly it wouldn't be fair to my other staff who would end up picking up her slack. So I told my son honestly that I didn't think it was a good fit, and that I wasn't comfortable hiring her, not out of spite, but out of genuine concern that she'd struggle and it would create problems for the business and honestly for her own confidence too. This did not go over well. My son is furious with me, saying I'm her father-in-law and I should be supportive and give her a chance to grow, that everyone has to start somewhere, and that I'm being incredibly harsh judging her based on things like router problems and self-checkout machines. My wife thinks I'm being too harsh too, and says I should have at least given her a trial period instead of shutting the door immediately. But I keep thinking about the reality of running a business, and how hiring someone who genuinely struggles with basic independent tasks in a role that requires exactly that could set her up to fail and embarrass her even more than just not getting the job at all. Am I wrong for not hiring my daughter-in-law into my own company? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.